What's up, everybody? How you doing? It is EC Radio. We're live on Disruption Network. You can follow along on all Disruption Network social media platforms. And also, we're live on the Stanley Facebook page as well. Thank you so much for clicking that view button. Shout out to my sponsors. Thank you to EJA Moving Services, the professional movers. When you're ready to move and relocate, hit up Eddie and his fine staff at 315-335-0516 or hit them up at ejamoving.com. There's no task that they can't handle. They'll pretty much move wherever you need to go. Maybe they'll move art space where they need to go. Hit them up today, ejamoving.com. Also, a shout out to attorney Dave Longaretti. If you need legal help, give him a call today at 315-735-6162. Shout out to my good friends over at Utica Coffee. Big ups to my friends at Saranac. And if you need a good meal this weekend, people, I suggest you go over to Joey's at 307 on Mohawk Street. Go see my good friend Matt Grabsky and let him cook for you, because what he does is absolutely sensational. The man is a wizard in the kitchen, and I suggest you go over to Joey's at 307 and get yourself a fine meal. Cooking it up old school East Utica Italian style at Joey's at 307. Shout out to Grabsky. Shout out to all my sponsors. If not for the sponsors, this podcast is not possible. My friend Lisa Wilsey's in the house today. How are you?
Hi.
I love when we get together. We have like all these great ideas bouncing back and forth.
I know,
There's like
fun.
the energy is always so good when you and I are in the same room
Thank
together.
you.
I like it.
Awesome.
I like
Me
the
too.
ideas that you were just coming up with. I wish we could tell everybody what we were just talking about, but so much up our sleeve. So Lisa,
all the tricks.
for those that don't know, Lisa's the executive director over at the Stanley Theatre. She's held the position for almost 2 years now, right?
No, solid 2 years. Well over 2 years now. We're moving into year 3.
Year 3.
Year 3 we're going into.
And what a shitty time to get that position right in the middle of the Corona coaster.
You know, it is what it is. You know, I think we handled it really well. Like a lot of businesses, we're here. We never closed. We were always open, doing something, and maybe not as aggressively as usual, but we kept above water.
Yeah. What was the first time you stepped foot in the Stanley?
Actually, I remember the first time I saw it. I was the first day I drove into Utica 7 years ago. I had to go to the Bank of America across the street. And I remember I got out of my car and I shut the door and I looked back and I saw the facade of the Stanley. And in my brain, I'll never forget, I'm like, wow, what a beautiful building. And so I remember that. And then I went in, I went for a show, I think it was Ambrosia.
Oh, wow.
My husband, my stepchildren, and I went only because I had seen them play in San Francisco and I liked them. I thought it'd be a good show for the kids. And they loved it. And they were front row and just thought it was amazing. So, and then since then, my husband and I participated in a lot of sponsorships while I was with the hockey team. And then, you know, obviously Jerry, I knew Jerry. And as a friend, I saw this job come up and I called him first, like, you know, what's going on? You know, you associate Stanley and Jerry so synonymously. And he mentioned he was retiring. So I threw my name in the hat and they picked it. So here I am.
And here you are. Not knowing all this stuff is going to be in front of you, actually.
It's okay. I'm built for it. I'm pretty strong. So we just keep changing the way we think, you know. And so with the staff, with Linda, we just try and just keep changing how we perceive things and handle things. And I think that's been a saving grace for all of us at the theater, the working staff that is. So.
Definitely very resilient, that theater is. I don't know how many times the wrecking ball has come close to that theater.
I was just talking to a reporter at UTR the other day, and I told her, I said there was a moment in, I think it was like late June, I was in the theater by myself in the loge, sitting in my friend's seat, and I call it his seat because he always sits there, and I didn't know. I thought we were actually going to be open by then. Like, I thought like a lot of people like, oh, it's a month or two of, you know, decompression here. And then I had that weird moment of dread. Like, now what? What we only know what we do. So what do we do? And then that's when it clicked to change our business model completely and explore and activate the film and television production piece of our business, which was a year early. It was going to come this year, but we did it a year early.
And now how do you activate the soundstage?
Well,
how does that
it
become
was
a thing?
already registered. It just hadn't been explored as a revenue piece of the business of Stanley, probably because it was just so busy with other things and, you know, surviving a previous, like, you know, ebb that it was just struggling. I think like maybe it was around 2013 12, something like that. I think it went through a period of, lack of activity, if I'm not mistaken. And then it picked up with Jerry bringing in dance competitions, and that's great revenue for the theater. And what a lot of people don't understand is it's 25 weekends a year of kids coming in with their families on a Thursday, literally moving the family to Utica, living here until Sunday night, meals, hotels, any little piece that you need that you forgot at home. And I think that, you start to look at these numbers of these kids, sometimes 800 kids, 1,000 kids, 300 kids, multiply that and the economy locally, and it's a pretty significant accelerator. And we're not going to not do that. We are going to add what's the downtime with film and television and pockets of open dates for productions. And if we don't have the time at our facility, we have spillover inventory with the neighboring communities so we can refer and actually rent space and move a show over there. So it really is adding to what we call the dark time. Like, summer, it was pretty quiet.
Always.
This theater cannot be a seasonal theater. Mm-hmm. She's incredibly big. She's 3,000 seats, plus staff, plus crew. It's a lot of people in the building on a night, and that knowing that, you need to do that all year. She's a really big building. She's got big expenses, big repairs. They're not little. They cost, especially on the historical side of the building. So when we noticed in 2019, it was crazy. It was busy. There were weeks where we had 5 events in a night.
That was awesome.
I know.
December 2019 was so busy.
December was a test.
Yeah.
It was a test in the market because a lot of people said Utica won't do it, and I said, watch what we're going to do.
And we freaking did it.
We nailed it, and it was a great year. The staff was amazing, I think, but it showed the building can handle it, and it needed it, and it wanted more of it. So when we go back to reopen, I think we're going to, my vision at least, is to get back to that as soon as possible. And that included a lot of new programming that hadn't been to Utica before, like Mannheim Steamroller hadn't been here. So we brought in some things that were new to the market that were, I think, really great for the market. Everything was different. Mm-hmm. So we were able to capitalize on that. So a lot of people thought, too much, the market won't bear. Well, we're not doing the same show all, 2 weeks. It was very different, as you know. And then, of course, we capped it off with Mo, which was, as you know, I wanted them all year that year. So you were significant in orchestrating that. So thank you.
It was a great time for sure.
Some of the neatest people ever to walk through the theater. Yeah. I want them back.
Oh, it'll happen. It'll definitely happen once this. It must have been ridiculous because you come off such a great momentum from coming off in December and January, and then all of a sudden Corona coaster. Yeah. And now, did that put you maybe into like a little bit of a state of depression, or what are you thinking at this time?
I think going back to that June day when I was in the theater by myself, I was sitting in the loge. That was my moment of dread day. Mm-hmm. It was like what do I do? It's my responsibility. It's my job. And as I'm sitting in the dark and I got the ghost light down on the stage, I literally remembered a conversation I had with Mike Galimi and Matt Osowski that this theater is a qualified production facility in the state of New York. It is one of about only 100, which is amazing that Utica has it, and it is the Stanley. And what that means is it has certain assets to it that qualify it, and also it has a tax credit associated with it. So when certain budgets are met, you can get upwards of 35% in tax credits for production or post-production. And so we have really started to leverage that. So tip my hat to those guys who did that several years back. And I think now we're starting to develop relationships with other communities and cities in upstate New York to bridge. I was referring to it as an alliance for a while, but I think it's more of a collaborative at this point. So we're going to start working together, just bridge each other's territories. So if someone comes to me for a service, yes, you can use the Stanley, but okay, on these dates, I need to move you over here and you can finish there. But the tax credit clicks because you were at the Stanley. You don't have to be there the whole time.
Uh-huh. Is it like a certain amount of hours you have to register?
Like a day.
Oh, okay.
I think it's even a day.
Wow.
And don't quote me again because that changes in government all the time. But I believe as of the last I read, it was a day here, and then you can literally go outside and film along the Erie Canal, but you park something at that facility. So that's really the key. And that's really beneficial to people with the budgets. I also, my colleagues in Hollywood and I have talked, and what's nice about upstate New York, it's the cost. It's so much less than being out there. And
the architecture's here. The things they need are here. They can build anything inside the Stanley on their soundstage to create any other environment in the world. So we're just have a very opportune piece with this Stanley, and I think it's really exciting because kids who are interested in going into film and television, as this evolves and develops, and it will take some time, but it is coming, and it means maybe you don't have to move away to have that job. Maybe you can stay in town and have your own production company, and you have a QPF down the road that you can use, and that to me is really key. So people, and it will attract talent and say, oh, living in a big city like New York, it starts to cost differently. But up here, you have a town that's amazing, and it's near the thruway, and it's easy access back to New York City if you need to, but it's much more affordable. It's got a better quality of life. Centrally located.
There's no traffic.
There's no traffic, right. Especially with the Stanley being the anchor in downtown Utica, they can go stay at the Marriott and walk, which is the reason why a lot of these Broadway productions love to tack here, is because it's so centrally located. They don't have, there's no really transportation costs going on other than, the artists can walk back and forth, and it's only a block away.
And that's something that's appealing to a lot of film producers right now when they see this, that the proximity to everything, but also the ability to drive in, have cars, bring your trucks right up to the building, whether you're in the back or through the dock. It saves on the load time, and which saves on money. And then keeping everything close to the theater like that means they don't have to drive 5 miles to go find something on a truck that's in a parking lot. They walk right outside, they can get it. And though that drive time to go get something and come back, that costs money. Everybody's on an hour. So that's where this issue with the parking lot next door is becoming incredibly cumbersome towards what we do now and what we're hoping to do and planning to do. So it's hard to understand this because I think a lot of people think we're taking this position because of ticket holder traffic. And yes, that is a concern, especially with our elderly persons, and the proximity that where the handicap parking is now to the sidewalk. It's a luxury for them, and to adjust that, that's it's just hard to swallow a little bit, but also the ticketed person is one piece. It's the productions is what we don't see. So when a show comes in at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, and 60 to 80 cars show up in the parking lot to help unload these trucks and start building a show all day long. And then, part of them go home, 20 or 15, 20 men and women might stay to run the show. Bulk of them do leave. And then when you and I go home after a show, they come back and they
I'm
tear
still
it all
there.
down.
I have to lock up.
That's
remember,
right. You're there.
I'm last to leave, Lisa.
Yeah. Well, so firsthand, then I go home as a ticket holder, but the crew is there, and then they have to take all of it down and pack it up. And you're there 2, 3 o'clock in the morning to get the show to the next city.
Sometimes I've left at 5 a.m.
5 a.m.
5, 6,
So that's what we don't see. Right. And that's a piece of our position regarding developing this parking lot into something. So
that was a great segue into the parking lot issue.
Like that?
Yes, it was really good. You've done this before, I see. Talking about this parking lot situation. So what it is 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 it a nonprofit? Is ArtSpace a non-for-profit organization?
I believe so. I believe so.
And where are they located?
I believe their home base is Minneapolis.
And are there other art spaces throughout the United States?
Yeah,
so there are.
I grew up with one not too far from where I'm from in Santa Cruz, so I am familiar with the product. I think it's great. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the Santa Cruz project was a combination of restoration of old and adding new construction to it, if I remember this story correctly. And I remember thinking it was a great idea, a little bit of both. I mean, that's great. I believe that there's one up in Buffalo. They're scattered around the country. I think what they do is a great opportunity for artists to have a quality home to live in. My issue is not with ArtSpace, obviously. I'm in the business of art. So it's not even, the fact that it's them next door, it would be anything. As we really study thoughtfully as an organization, imagining environmentally the impact it will make on us, but also the economic impact. That's where, like I said, my job is to protect this theater, and I think any other business owner in my position would feel the same. I've met with Art Space. We met yesterday, and they're very nice people, and we're planning to meet again just so they can have a better understanding of where my concerns are and where I got them from. So hopefully we'll be meeting with the architect at the theater, because I really think you need a hands-on tour to understand like what I'm looking at. You can't see it in a letter. We'll definitely have them to the theater hopefully in the next week or so.
Is this art space part of the DRI initiative?
Yes, they do fall into the DRI.
So it does fall into it. Now there's a radius in this DRI, right?
Yeah, it's Genesee Street, and then I think it juts out in certain parts. Like the map kind of does this a little bit, if I'm not mistaken. So they're like, we fall in the DRI. Right. We actually have a project in the mix. Whether we move forward with that, I'm not sure, because actually now that we've had COVID, the box office experience is changing. So we might do something completely different moving forward with how that's used, because it's been so traditional. And I don't think we're moving into going back to the traditional paper ticket world. I think, we were already planning to go ticketless and mobile and printed home tickets. And the reason for that had nothing to do with COVID. We were just finding that ingress was taking too long. People were running to their seats. Fans were getting stressed. They weren't getting in quick enough.
Yeah, it's keeping up with the times.
Yeah, true. And they weren't enjoying their theater. They couldn't go in and just meet up with their friends at the bar and have a drink and just do that thing, running into friends and, taking pictures and creating your own memories. So we just noticed that the flow was, it created a lot of people traffic. And that always worries me because of emergencies. If there's a situation where people have to move quickly, if you're in a pack, it really doesn't work. So
clearing the egress.
Yeah. And then also we introduced a seat delivery app, Noble, which worked out fantastically for rock shows. It's a really cool thing, actually. I mean, you can go in and fill in your seat that night, and your food and drinks are brought to you. And
pretty soon we're going to get you a catheter too, so you don't even really have to leave the seat.
Okay, overshare. But so we're ready for a lot of the things that I think this experience with COVID would have led us to anyway. So we're ready. But that being said, the box office, as you see, it's old school, and I think we might some ideas with how we're going to operate differently. It's going to change that space. So we're not sure if we're going to move forward with what we thought we needed or wanted to do, because that might look different. So I'm not sure how to, at this point, I'll be honest with you, it's not my top priority today. And I am in touch with the consultants out of Saratoga, and they're great people. The women out there are awesome. But today, I think my focus is really on getting ready to open with the shows. And I think from what we're seeing from agents getting back to us, is the fall is looking really busy. Our calendar through March of next year is super heavy, and we're actually have holds all the way through 2026. So people are really planning. And that's an indicator to us here that we're on the routes, we're on the tours. Some really cool artists that I don't know have ever been here want to come. So that's always exciting, but it's daunting to see, like, wow, 4 years out, this is good. This is a good way to start gauging our growth. And
it's a good sign to think that everything is going to be all right.
We hope so. Of course, how we pitch to get a show, whether it's through a renter or our own show or a promoter coming in or a presenter coming, it always kind of depends on what that contract looks like. Part of what we can pitch, being in Utica and we're a small market, is just how great our amenities are, which is we have great dressing rooms, we have the best sound ever, we have a great crew of union guys and girls, as you know.
A laundromat.
We have a laundromat.
A kitchen.
Yeah. And we have a dual loading dock. We also have parking.
And we got Linda.
We got Linda. So we have all those things. Like, for example, Linda uses those to the advantage of getting the talent here. It makes their experience great at the Stanley. It also translates into revenue for the Stanley. It's how we survive. So, and that was like pivotal when we saw in that December of 2019, you mentioned a lot of that revenue carried over. So even though we did do what a lot of programs here did, the PPP monies and the EIDL loans and all these things that were coming up to help people, we also had some money left over that actually helped us until we didn't know what was happening. So we were in good shape. You know, I mean, we're not millionaires, but we certainly didn't close. So, I mean, I think that says something to say about the building. She just keeps you alert.
She needs some love.
Yeah, I haven't slept since January of 2019. Can you tell?
I want to back up, though, and talk about this parking lot situation. Sure. Technically, the city owns that parking lot, right?
Yes.
And so that's what it's pretty much on if the city sells art space, that piece of land, right? So it's pretty much on.
I think
it's on the shoulders of the city, correct?
I would imagine it is. It's, you know, there as the owner of the land, it would be. I do think it's a partnership, possibly. I'm not sure of all the details, honestly. I've just, but when originally what I saw on a Google Earth picture printed out, I kind of got a sense of what they were doing, but it's nothing you can approve or disapprove because it's a Google picture. It's an idea. When I saw the renderings is when I got incredibly concerned because as beautiful as the project is designed and what it can do for the artists and the organization of art space, you start to really contemplate it thoughtfully, and you see so many things that really would go against what would help us. And I don't think they're aware of a lot of these things, and so that's why we've opened dialogue with them to explain. It could be anything from, snow. How many parking places are we going to lose, not only to the residents and their guests,
but even the people that work in the neighborhood too.
Yeah, I think what's also unknown to people is we keep thinking only Stanley uses it, so it's like not used when we're not open. It's not the case. 3 to 5 core businesses downtown use that lot, and people pay to park there or use it as a guest of a local business, So I think that's something else we have to understand. It really does bring people, it allows for people to come downtown easily to experience or work or, go to dinner, whether or not there's a show at the Stanley. And if there is a show at the Stanley, everyone knows to book their tables and get down there, early because it becomes fun. It's bustling down there. So we're hoping to get back to that. But again, I don't know other owners right now. We're starting to have a little more dialogue about how we're using it. It's coming to a point where we have to be a little come to Jesus moment about it. I guess we're the strongest user of it.
Yeah.
And I think we're also an economic accelerator for the city. We fill the hotel rooms, whether it's a dance competition or whether it's Mo, where we had people in from Texas to see that show. Yes, they need a rental car and they need a hotel. So we're also promoting a tourism piece too. So it's not just for the locals, it's also bringing in the dollars that we also need to survive as a theater. And the restaurants, I think, love it, and I think that's another thing that we have to understand too, is we don't get anything back out of all of that work, so people are, their businesses are surviving. Their businesses, and they know when they're going to be busy. I get phone calls for our calendar. How many people are you expecting? Okay, I got to hire a couple more servers. They're creating jobs too.
Yep.
So I think there's a lot of ripple effect that this organization has that hasn't really been thought through, because all we see are people going and going home. We don't see all the other little ancillary effects that we have.
It all trickles down.
Yeah.
The Stanley is one of the top draws in this city, and I can't see why they would want to choke it, and landlock it.
Again, it's those things that we don't see that is kind of, I guess, gotten confusing for people because they know what they see. But what I'm trying to say in some of these meetings is my discussion is it's what you don't see. And that's the other piece. You know, the union, it creates 200 to 300 jobs a year.
Oh, yeah.
That's a lot. A lot of those people have day jobs also.
There's a roster of 50 guys on that union, if not more.
It's more.
More, right.
And also the jobs they create, you know, it could be someone's second job. It could be their only job. But it also it provides them a quality of life too. And there's that piece. You know, I'm worried, as I've spoken with the union, that if the labor does not have access to a well-lit, safe lot to arrive and depart from, the speculation and the sentiment right now is, from the sentiment is we will lose some of those laborers who do not want to park 3 or 4 blocks away in the dark on a sidewalk that might not be safe. You know, maybe it's broken. They don't see something. They might trip and fall. We don't know. You know,
not even that, but the tours as well, because a lot of times in the contract you need adequate parking for your trucks and for your buses and for the crew, and that's a whole nother stipulation. You'll lose tours because there's not adequate parking.
We will, and there's no determination at this point whether or not we could still park tour buses where the guys and girls live on the road, on the curb that they've generally used for decades in front of the parking lot. So now they have to park off site. We need to hire runners, extra security. Pretty soon the labor bill, click, 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 click. And we have no show, which means no revenue. And part of how we've been able, the formula is the laborers come in at this. The ticket price can cost this, so it's affordable. We have a threshold that we never go over. I don't know if anyone's ever picked up on that, but we don't have $300 concerts. So there's certain thresholds we have to meet to know we're going to make money. And if this goes too high, then there just can't be any show. And then the quality of life shifts because you don't have access to things coming to town. But also the theater would suffer.
Did you explain all this to Art Space when you met with them? Like having the trucks parked out in front? And
yeah, a little bit. We got it. You know, it was only about an hour. You know, it deserves, quite frankly, I think they deserve to have a thorough knowledge of this, because it's not just coming out of my pocket like, oh, here's something I don't, you know, I'm concerned about. The list is growing. As, like I said, it's not been really thoughtful about how I've been like just looking out at the parking lot, envisioning things, and one day it's one thing and the next day it's 2 things. And I'm trying to be supportive of their organization, and I feel I am, because like I said, I know what this organization does. I know what they do, but I also know that I have to consider the Stanley, and what I was hired to do was to propel this building to another level. And as we're doing that, it's like, I don't know how this I'm trying to make it make sense, but I just can't. So maybe when we talk with the architect, we'll all understand each other a little bit better.
Speaking of the architect, I'm sure they're doing surveys and whatnot, right?
Yeah, I see some.
But they're doing surveys in the middle of COVID. It's not like the theater's been dark for a year. How can you do a survey?
Oh, for traffic?
For traffic surveys or any of that kind of survey?
My personal opinion on that is you can't.
You can't.
You can't.
We've been dark for a year.
You really can't do any.
So those numbers aren't going to be adequate.
They won't be accurate.
Right.
I mean, now I start to see cars coming back to that lot, which is an indicator that people are going back to work physically. So some days it's really busy, and the other days, it's 40, 50 cars. Sometimes it's 20, sometimes it's more. We're starting to see it come back. So it's it in and of itself, I don't know. I don't know what studies they've done. I'm worried about stress on our sewers. I'm worried about how is the water going to flow once it rains or the snow melts. I'm worried about the loading dock getting flooded. I'm worried about, sunlight, because the windows on the south side of the building were built there specifically to attract sunlight for heat to help with the utility. All these little pieces that you start to, compare it to, like, how does this going to work? And it doesn't for us. And that's all. I mean, that's, you lose 33 places. You're going to replace them if you move the garden and add 4. So really you're netting 4, but then you have to minus 44, I believe is the number for the residents. And then you need to guess what are the commercial spaces going to use and those employees and those customers. And so it starts to grow, and you get worried. And now you're like, uh-oh. And then what about the core businesses downtown that use the lot while they work all day? Plus Stanley has shows, plus the dance competition comes in, and you've got all of a sudden an influx of hundreds of cars into downtown, or it could be a rock band or a Broadway show. Tech is another question. They come in sometimes, I think
for 2
about
weeks sometimes.
2, 3,
Month.
4, 6 weeks, 12 trucks. Why we don't see them is because they tuck them up in the back. So when you're going to work, you might see a couple tour buses along the curb and the loading dock's full, but as you're driving, I'm glad no one's looking, but you don't look back up in the top and see just rigs. And again, that whole proximity to the venue and how it was designed, and maybe it's designed a little differently. Maybe the loading dock should have ideally been through the back, but that's just not how it is. So maybe it's not the way urban development normally grows and everything is just tucked right on the curb. I see no reason why we can't be different, and I struggle with that. I think it really works for the city. You go to Lake Placid and you walk the street, and yeah, maybe it's a smaller town, but there's municipal parking peppered all along that road. So it is possible to have parking on your main road, and it actually allows people to drive in, park, and walk. So you see examples that it can be done differently.
Yeah. Do you know if Art Space researched any other locations, or are they just dead set on this
I don't know
parking
that
lot?
They're dead set, and I don't know if they've done any other research.
You don't know? Okay.
No.
Curious.
Yeah, I just met a few of them yesterday on a Zoom meeting. So and it was a good introduction. Just I'm sorry it didn't take place 6-7 months ago.
Right.
Because I don't know if we'd be here today, and in this way. But like I said, we'll just that's our line in the sand. We can't, and it's not them. It's any real estate development. Therein lies the thing. I'm not anti-art. I'm not anti-affordable housing. I'm not anti-construction. I just cannot advocate for anything there at this time.
Yeah, we're
especially
all
with the
pro-Utica.
growth we plan.
We're all pro Utica around here. We want to see growth, and I want to see this art space just not there. It's the wrong location.
Yeah.
And I'm sure we can find. There's so many dilapidated buildings in this area that we can find, and they can restore another building.
Sure, and there's also, I think, some pockets of land that a new building would actually help neighborhoods too. So. But that's my opinion. I'm not them, and I don't know their business model, and I don't know their business, so I'm not going to make any assumptions. I think a lot of assumptions have been made about Stanley, oh, this will be good for you. But we never talked. How do you know? Because I'm worried. I worry because we've gotten through the non-year. We have really aggressive plans for Stanley coming in the next couple of years. We've had major streaming networks come through the property to tour it. It's happening, it's coming, and alliances or collaborations with other major cities, it's coming. It is coming, and smaller markets and bedroom communities. We're not going to overlook anybody in this design to really propel upstate to the country, because I'm a national person. I love marketing nationally, and that's something that coming into this job wasn't being done. There's manpower, it's timing, it's you're working on something. Who has time to really do that? But what we did in 19 was we got on the phone. We called Nashville. We called Chicago. We called LA. We told them we were here. We redid our website. We redid everything. We just said and a lot of people were like, oh my God, I remember when.
Yep.
And they're coming back. So I think there's something to be said for this area that it goes underutilized, and I think people here they needed some bragging rights, I mean, the Stanley alone is something to brag about. So is Munson, so is the Odd.
Yep.
So are a lot of organizations, the Uptown Theater, Players, Picket. It's great. There's
brewery.
A lot to the brewery. There's a lot to brag about. And I do think we have a very healthy arts scene here now, and I think I think a lot of it needs some support. I would love to have seen the DRI actually capture Players on its map, because I think it would really have helped them with their theater and finishing their project.
Or the Uptown.
Or the Uptown as well. Little things around town that really, some businesses that have struggled even before COVID might have had an opportunity to jump forward a little bit, but it wasn't my call. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I didn't draw the map, and I don't know who did, and I don't know what I think the whole idea was to create a downtown.
Would they get a Sharpie? Like,
yeah.
Trump style.
I mean, I guess you want to create a walkability down like a boulevard, I guess, that feel.
Right.
But we're also a town that's spread out after a while, too. I guess, it used to be such a busy downtown, but then as you develop neighborhoods, you kind of spread out. Like, I used to live in a city. And I love living in Whitesboro. There's no traffic. There's nothing. It's like, it's a joy.
Yeah.
No
noise pollution.
No. In fact, when people honk, I call them a tourist. We don't do that here.
We are live on Facebook, and I want to get to a couple of comments that are out there right now. Also, we're live on Twitch. Shout out to Gridley Page over there on Twitch. Thank you, guys. They rocked it yesterday over there on Twitch Fest, and great job, everybody that participated in Twitch Fest. George Rossi checking in. Rossi, I want to get you on this podcast, man. So if you're still watching, I'd love to get you on. He says this is a great insight, and great work from Lisa. How are you marketing the whole soundstage to Hollywood and whatnot? Devin Mahoney wants to know from the Uptown Theater.
Oh, actually, a lot of my colleagues formerly in the music business have moved into the film industry, and some of them actually own a location management company out in Hollywood. So I've been in touch with them, and also they actually know people that work for directors and such of major Hollywood films, and so their colleagues are now getting the link of our soundstage and reaching out to me to say, what are you looking at? And actually, they've been really nice because I've been fielding a lot of questions about what to do, and I get questions because it's new. It's a new business for me. And they've been really helpful with not only referring us to film collaborators, but also to the people that pick the locations for the film. So really driving very fiercely towards location managers and production companies.
He's also saying he knows an Emmy award-winning comedy writer looking for a series to shoot in the Northeast, and he wants to sell them on Utica. So maybe you guys need to hook up.
Oh, I'd love that.
Yeah,
Let's do it.
You guys need to hook up. And
oh, my God, I would love comedy. I think it's what we need right now.
Yeah.
I think we need some laughing.
And Devin's in the middle of all that, too, at the Uptown Theater with all this improv. They do an improv class.
Let's talk, Devin. Let's do it. Great.
For sure, for sure.
Awesome.
Linda's liking our shout-out. We gave her a little shout-out earlier.
Oh, Linda.
I got to give a shout-out to Eddie Alsheimer over at EJA Moving Services. Make sure you support all our sponsors. Originally, they wanted the DeSales building with the art space. Do you know anything about that? No? Which would be a great location for them, because I don't think it's being utilized over there.
I don't know to say. I mean, some people mention, like, I think I've seen in the news, like the Handshake City area or the Knights of Columbus building. But again, I'm not art space, so I don't know what their formula is to have it make sense for what they do. So, I don't know. I sound like, I'm sorry I don't have the information, but I don't feel comfortable assuming I know their business.
Rosemary wants to know, what about bus shuttle services from one parking lot to another? Would that help as far as, like, shuffling people in and out?
I think so.
It would help.
And actually, that's something we've actually talked about for safer parking. Maybe working with the city on creating something like, if we use a parking lot downtown, maybe it has a pickup service, kind of like how you have like remote parking lots for baseball games and stuff. You jump on the shuttle.
Yep.
We've talked about that, but again, until the infrastructure can be there, I can hope for it.
And that could get costly too after a while.
Yeah. And it needs maintenance, and it needs drivers, and it needs all those pieces. I think it'd be a great idea. I just think we need to develop that too, and I think that would be something not just for shows, but people moving people, just in general. Maybe smaller buses that are quicker. I mean, our lanes are so small, so I don't know. It's kind of maybe something a little more, mobile, but.
Yeah, Devin said he wants to help, so you two should connect and hook that up. And
great. Do you have his cell phone number?
Yeah. I can hook you up with that.
Thanks.
Also, want to reiterate the fact that we're not against art space whatsoever. No. That we definitely love to see this come to the area. It's just not in that location. And, you know, we need the parking. There's no parking downtown whatsoever.
But let me be clear. It's not about them there. It's really any real estate development at this point. As we study it as a building, not as a business.
Maybe if they build a parking garage, right?
But only if it's tall enough for buses and trucks.
Good point. Good point.
But it's a good project. I think it should go. It deserves an opportunity to find a place where the community loves it. And I think, like I said, what they do is great. But I also have to take care of the Stanley for the theater itself. And also, it's the community's theater. It's not mine. And I do my job. I tell this to Danielle across the street the other day. I go, we do what we do not for us. We do it for the kids. So when we're long gone and old and gray, they can take this over or have it, and for their kids. So it's about generations and keeping it healthy. And I mean, you go into the Stanley and you can't be just shocked every time you go in. You see something new on the walls, up on the ceiling. It's a remarkable architectural feat in and of itself. And I'm excited to have ArtSpace take a look at it. So maybe they'll understand why I'm just so protective of that address.
So they haven't taken a tour of the facility at all?
Not with me.
No?
I think they're, like I said, they're going to come in a week and kind of, so I can kind of walk them through hands-on, like why I wrote the things I did, and I have communicated with them, and it's nothing unusual. You know, it's all the things I've talked about. But I think when they see it, they'll understand it, and maybe they can answer my questions. Maybe they'll put me at ease. I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see.
We want you at ease. We definitely want you at ease, because when you're at ease, more creativity comes out of you.
Well, yeah, the idea we talked about before we got on the air, I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, we got a few things up the sleeve.
It's all part of a big piece.
Yes, one big piece. That's what we are. Before we get out of here, you want to drop some exclusivity on us? You got anything coming that we could talk about in the theater? Maybe an announcement or something? Huh?
Not yet.
Come on.
No.
Come on.
No.
Come on.
No.
All right.
I'll leave that to Linda. When we're ready to announce it, Linda and I will come on and do some stuff for you. I mean, we are planning some smaller events between now and the fall. Very small, well under 100 people.
Right.
And that the reasoning for that is I want the staff to be comfortable too. It's not just the patron piece, it's also the staff piece. So we're going to do what I call some gentle, low impact events. Really small, just to get us going again, you know, and then, you know, pepper those throughout the summer, and that won't happen until June anyway, so it's not like it's happening tomorrow, but we're getting ready for, you know, Broadway's, you know, got a schedule, and tours are coming in, and things are getting booked, and it's like, great, I guess, do you know something I don't know? You know, are these going to be full capacity, you know, and I'm ready for it. If people are comfortable to come back and show they got a vaccination or the negative tests, why not? I mean, maybe you still wear a mask, you know, just to be, you know, the kind thing to do for people. But, you know, I think it's coming. I really do. Yeah. I don't think the arts and entertainment and sports could handle another year off.
I agree.
There's just too many jobs, too much at stake there.
And for our mental health. That's a whole nother issue, too.
Yeah. I mean, we already had it bad. Now it's just, I'm sure it's just that much worse for some people. That's why I worried about, you know, kids at home alone. And, you know, it's a lot of alone time. And or people working from home alone and then not going out, just being home 24/7. For a while there, I worried about people and some of my friends, but they got through it. Yeah. Yeah. Well,
just keep drinking.
Okay.
Leanne wants to know if we could get Sebastian Maniscalco. Wouldn't that be great?
Well, Linda has the 411 on that one.
Okay.
So we have some things in the works. Linda, that's one of Linda's favorites. So don't be surprised if don't be surprised if that happens at some point.
There you go. Yeah. Awesome. For more information, you could go to thestanley.org.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. I didn't know if the theater was in there or not, and I should know this.
We're just thestanley.org.
Thestanley.org for more information on whatever.
And we answer Facebook if people have a question or a thought or a concern or an idea. We get messages all the time, so we listen to everybody. So.
And you're new to TikTok now.
Okay, I love TikTok.
Lisa's doing TikTok dances on the Stanley site.
No. I got into TikTok.
Do you know the Renegade dance?
No, I'm not doing that. No, I got into it like a lot of people during this time of being home with nothing to do. And we're having that's our fun social media. That's really like non-business, all fun theater things. Just that's really just going to be our outlet for that. The other platforms are a combination of everything, but that one's designated to be fun. Yeah.
Fun. Well, I appreciate you taking the time today to come hang, and this has been great. And everybody out there in Facebook land, if you could do us a favor and click the share button, help spread the word of what's going on over at the Stanley, and help spread the word of the Disruption Network as well. And then we'll get you back once we get some shows rolling.
I'll bring Linda then, too.
Yeah, bring Linda. Yeah. You got to bring Linda. I miss Linda. I miss everybody over there. And let's get back to work, hopefully soon.
I miss all the women. I have Brooke. Brooke's been great. She's she's got a gig going, but she's right there with us. She's just got our back. The two alleys. We have two now.
Two alleys. Alley Square.
Alley Squared. They're great. It's a neat group of people, and I think we just tried to, I don't know, like a lot of people, you just try and get through it, and we're out of it. Now we're actually taking meetings next week with facilities to start, all right, now we can sit down comfortably without guessing and say, so a lot of last year was guessing, and then at one point I said, stop, it's just burning out your brain, and then I'm thinking, God, I'm so glad I didn't stock up on 100 cases of hand wipes now. You know, it would be useless or something. But so we're at a point now where we're thinking, you know, how the signage, what do we need? You know, what do we need for, you know, seating arrangements and all those things? Like, we'll do it now. Now is a good time, I think, to really dig into that piece.
Your husband wants the Foo Fighters.
Of course he does.
So do I, Matt. But the Struts, maybe? Right? Come on.
How about the Struts opening for the Foos?
There you go.
Yeah, that's what we saw.
There you go.
We took the family to Boston to see that show. That's when I introduced my stepchildren to the Struts, which I love, obviously. But you never know. You should call, you know, New York State Tool. Maybe they'll sponsor the Foo Fighters.
There you go.
Come to the Stanley, Matt.
Yeah, Matt. Put your money where your mouth is, man. Imagine, what are they going for? They got to be $1 million by now.
Probably.
They have to be.
Yeah. Or more.
That would be awesome. But
and that's a band. I mean, that makes you want to go work for a band. They're so good.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Their drummer's amazing.
Oh yeah, Taylor Hawkins.
Yeah. Amazing.
He's a machine.
Yeah, I don't know how he does it. It's almost like he's going to explode.
Yeah. And I don't think Dave Grohl has ever written a bad song in his life.
I don't think so.
He's just.
And it's so funny to think back that he was the drummer of Nirvana.
Right.
When I was little.
Yeah.
When
I was little, listen to you.
I was little. Yeah, I was little. Yeah. And he had the long, straight hair.
Mm-hmm. And he was only 21, 22 at the time, too.
We were all young.
Oh, yeah.
I think I was like 17, 18 back in those days.
Hashtag my blackout years.
Your blackout.
My blackout years.
I remember mine.
A whole separate podcast. But Lisa, thank you so much.
Thanks,
and if you ever need anything, please holler.
I do. And you know I do.
You do. I feel like I'm your lifeline sometimes.
Yes.
Do you know this person? I'm like Utica's Kevin Bacon. Sometimes I feel like
you are. If I ever want to know if you know someone, I go to your Facebook page. I'm like, oh, they're friends.
They're friends. How do you know this person?
Yes. In fact, I have a couple people I need to ask you about.
Okay. We'll do that right now. Thank you to EJA Moving Services, Attorney Dave Longaretti, Utica Coffee, Saranac Brewery, and Joey's at 307. If not for this podcast, if not for the sponsor, the podcast is not possible. So thank you so much to everybody out there for your sponsorship. And if you're interested in a sponsorship at the D, slide into my DMs. We can help you out. We got a pretty cool and unique ways to promote your company or your business. So hit us up at disruptionnetwork@gmail.com. You can follow, like, subscribe, all things Disruption Network on social media. And we will see you again on Monday. We'll be back with Local Music Monday with guest Liz Novak from the Sammy Awards. It should be a lot of fun. So you guys have yourself a good weekend. Elena.